Essentially, my season plans dealt a massive hammer blow before the season even started. So I'm hoping you can help me process it, essentially, and maybe give me some ideas of things I can do instead.
My name's Andy, and I'm an ultra cyclist on a quest to be the best I possibly can be. I make videos about ultra training, kit, and adventures with a fresh upload every week. I've got a long road ahead of me, and I want to bring you along for the journey. Welcome to The Road Provides.
Good morning, friends, and welcome back. If you are already subscribed, thanks for coming back. And if you're not, hit subscribe for more ultra cycling related videos. And yes, once again, coming to you from a freezing south of England Sunday morning. It's absolutely freezing here. But you know what they say, be bold, start cold, and then hopefully you warm up, but let's see how that goes. At the moment, I feel like my fingers are in a vice, and I got 2 pairs of gloves on, so once again, the weather forecast, 5 degrees Celsius, reality is 0 or below. On the cards for today, I'm feeling kinda sociable. You might have noticed that I pretty much always ride on my own. I do have friends, believe it or not, and today I'm gonna go see my cycling club and go for a spin with them. I've been processing the news that I got a couple of days ago. That's one thing that longer training rides definitely have going for them. You have a lot of time in your own head to process stuff. I had 6 hours yesterday and I'm going out for about 4 hours today. So I have a rough idea of what I'm gonna do now, but this really helps. I have no idea what time it is right now either, so there's every chance I might miss the start of the club ride, just like I did 2 weeks ago. I can't see my Garmin, I don't know what time it is. They don't allow aero bars, so I've had to slip the skis out, which means my Garmin is in my back pocket. So I'm going to push on, see if I make it there on time, go for a fun spin in the South Downs. And sure enough, I just checked my phone, and I am running late, so I better get a wriggle on. For some reason, my club is 125 years old this year. We've always met at the top of the biggest hill anywhere around here, so I got a little bit of climbing to do. I still can't see my clock, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to make it, so not very far to go now. I suppose rather than hide the point of this video somewhere, I'm not going to do that. But essentially, I got a bit of a shocker of an email a couple of days ago. This road's really busy. Essentially, my season plans dealt a massive hammer blow before the season even started. I did not get a place on the transcontinental race this year. I was gutted about. I was kind of banking on that. Basically, all of my training I've been doing in the last couple of months was part of the trajectory of ending up there in July. But it is by no means the end of the world. So I'm hoping you can help me process it, essentially, and maybe give me some ideas of things I can do instead. Got a couple of ideas, and I'm thinking it through. It's only been a couple of days, but I'm really hoping you lot can help me with a plan B. That is the club ride down, and that was a lot of fun. I know not everybody is a fan of group riding, but it's nice to see some mates I haven't seen in ages and be a bit sociable for once. I spent yesterday 4 hours with my mate Rob, and today with some mates from the cycling club, so had a really nice sociable weekend. You do end up getting a bit carried away, chasing people over hills, a bit harder than I probably should be riding, but at least I'm not pootling around for once. This cycle path runs alongside a really busy motorway, so bear with the noise a little bit. So yeah, that's the news this week. No transcontinental race for Andy, and it's pretty big news for me really, considering that's what I've been targeting for the last 2 seasons. So actually, by the time I first decided to go for number 10 to applying, it took sort of 14-15 months to now of basically fixating on that event. TCR is not the be-all and end-all of ultra cycling racing, but it's just something I really wanted to tick off, and I will at some point. It's not completely impossible to try to frame this in a positive light in some ways, and I can basically move on and focus on something else this year. That's my plan. It's only been a couple of days since I got the email that I don't have a place, so I've been scrabbling around a bit, trying to find alternative events, ideas of things to do, going on a big trip maybe, a different race of the similar caliber, but it's early days, so I'm really not sure at this point what I'm going to do. So, in terms of painting this in a positive light in some way, on that actually, you might notice, you might have subscribed recently, I'm not one of those channels that turns everything into a positive. I'm not the most miserable person either, but I'm more than happy to tell you, I was gutted, and I still am a bit disappointed. I might not be the most cheery person in the world. I worked in sales and marketing for 15 years. One thing it taught me was don't go back to sales and marketing. Another thing it taught me was, as one door closes, another one opens. This is what it now means. I've got permission to ride my bike for 2 weeks, and now I can go anywhere I want. So there is that. Also, there were a few aspects of this TCR that, I'll be honest, made me really nervous. So, in some ways, I don't want to paint that in a negative light at all. But there were aspects that were scaring me slightly. Generally, I'm expecting, based on the previous years, about 4,000 kilometers. This is by far the longest one, so you're talking already a pretty big time commitment. And this year, a route that's at least 20% longer. So that's a little bit intimidating, but I was going to give it a good crack. Another thing I noticed, half of the route until Italy was through fairly expensive countries. So not only would it be a bigger time commitment, but actually making my way from Spain all the way through France, all the way through Italy, was looking like a pretty expensive trip as well. So those things wouldn't have put me off riding the event at all. But it's not impossible to frame it as a lucky escape in some ways. And again, I'm not slating the event or painting it in a negative light. I'm just trying to process the fact that I didn't have the opportunity to race it this year. One thing that puzzles me a little bit, I could be wrong, but there's no real transparency on why people don't get places. I know there are several people who race every year. There's a big push for 100 women at TCR, so it makes sense they're prioritised. It would just be nice to know why I didn't get a place. It left me feeling a little bit like maybe I cocked up the application, the questionnaire, somehow maybe, but probably not. It would be kind of nice to know how they got to who gets a place and who doesn't. Nevertheless, I didn't get a place, so I'm not going to cry about it. If anyone out there watching this does know how that process works, then I'd be kind of interested to know, but again, yeah, it doesn't change my situation anyway. So, you've heard from Emotional Andy, you're about to hear from Rational Andy. So at the point I made this video, I'd only recently received the email that I wouldn't be getting a place on the transcontinental race. Obviously quite disappointed. That was my main event I was aiming for this summer. On the face of it, when you get this email, it's not that clear why you didn't get a place at the event. So as you can see, it leaves me wondering, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently to have got a place at the event this year? Actually,
The information is out there, depending on how hard you look. It might just be me not doing enough research to understand what I'm getting myself into and what the selection criteria is. So, whilst there's no information given in the email that I received as to why I didn't get a place, and even in the manual, there's no section for selection criteria. That said, I did speak to somebody who went to the event in London for the live route reveal, where you get the opportunity to meet the Lost Dot team. He told me that he was told at that event they're focusing in the selection in several areas, one of which was green travel, so getting to the start and the finish overland and trying to avoid flights. So that made me go and look into the manual a bit more closely to see how much that was factored in. And sure enough, there is a section within the manual. The manual's very long, but there is a section around travel and sustainability where they mention that this year, as part of the selection criteria, green travel is factored in among other areas. I will have read that in the manual at some stage and not committed it to memory clearly. So at least that helped me kind of rationalise why I was rejected. It's just a shame otherwise to feel like maybe I did something wrong in the application process, had no idea what it might be. My guess is, based on the fact I got in last year, it's probably just because the start and the finish are in different places and it's not easy for me to travel overland to Spain and Romania. And when I realised that, I think actually it's quite fair, to be honest. All the while, the start used to be in Britain and it's now in north of France or Belgium. That's really easy for me to get to. So as far as ticking the box for green travel, all the while the start is in Northern Europe, I can get there really easily. Whereas people from Spain, Portugal, other parts of Europe, or the world, definitely can't do that. So actually, moving the start to Spain gives people in Spain and Portugal a much better opportunity to get into the event. These vlogs kind of happen in the moment while I'm out on the road training, so I'm happy to leave in this timeline of events of how this hit me over the last few days. But what I'll say, if you're planning to race a Lost Dot event at some point in the future, I've got 3 tips for you. Read the manual, read the manual, read the manual. It just saves a lot of pain. While I think, to be honest, things could be a little more transparent and clearer in the application and selection process, but the information is there. So moving forwards, I'm trying to figure out what to do for my main event for the season now. So if you have any ideas of things that I could apply for, routes I could ride, adventures to go on, races to take part in, I've got 2 weeks to play with on my bike. I will say though, at least I contacted the VIA race team because the website still has a registration page that's live, although the deadline has passed, and it looks like they're going to open up some more spaces, but still there's no guarantee that I'll get one of those places. So wish me luck. Yeah, if you got any ideas for me, then put them forward, I really appreciate it. But as for this one, I'll hand back to poor freezing cold Andy out on the road.
That does mean, as I said, I've got 2 weeks now to ride my bike and I can basically go anywhere I want. A few people messaged me actually to see how I got on, and when I told them I didn't get a place, then they really felt my pain. So thanks to anybody that did message. And I'll shout out Esther especially, who you'll know from the podcast. She sent me her list of events that she's got her eye on for the future. Sadly, a lot of them again, registration closed. So a little bit stuck on what to do. That's where I was hoping some of you could help me, because we're building a pretty niche community, not just cycling, but ultra cycling. So bearing in mind, I've got 2 weeks, pretty much go anywhere. I do have a couple of ideas. I'm hoping you folks watching can give me some ideas of things to do. Maybe a really good bikepacking route somewhere. Maybe a race I can still get into. Some kind of big 1 to 2 week adventure. I'm looking pretty frantically for stuff to do, but I reckon a lot of you, much like Esther, probably have a list on your phone of cool events that you want to do at some point, or routes you want to ride. So help me out, give me some ideas. One option that looks really good and makes a lot of sense is to ride the route for the TCR 10 that I didn't finish because of injury. I spent so long making that route. I got as far as Munich, so I could maybe get to Munich and then ride to Istanbul and just try to have a really good ride. I've got all the routes. I've even got the currency I didn't get to spend. So that's a possibility. I've just noticed I've lost one of the wind buffs off the camera, so if there's loads of wind noise, then apologies. So the core of why I do this. I love riding my bike and I love going on adventures, but for some reason, I can't explain why, I just want to compete. I don't know why. Never been particularly competitive. On top of that, I'm never going to win a race. Probably never even going to top 10 a race. But I just love the fact I can dedicate so much time to this, training, getting as fit as possible, and then just seeing what I'm able to produce in a big 4,000k race. And at this rate, mostly just getting into one and finishing the damn thing would be fantastic. But I'm putting a lot of time and effort into training, so I kind of want to see what I'm able to stump up really in an actual race. I'm almost home now, rolling back through Portsmouth. 4 hours today. I was out yesterday and got 6 hours in. Still challenging conditions. The weather forecast advertised 5 degrees Celsius. It's more like 1 towards 0. Absolutely freezing still. So in case you didn't watch last week, I'm now just 9 weeks away from my first race, which is a 24-hour time trial in the Cotswolds. So this weather better start warming up soon. And as well as that, next Saturday, I'm doing an Everesting indoors on Zwift. So keep your eyes peeled. Probably Instagram to see how to join that or watch it. I haven't figured that out yet, to be honest. Hopefully, chasing people up hills today hasn't screwed up my recovery for that. And it appears I've got a headwind all the way back along the beach to my house now. Anyway, I think I'm going to draw a line under it here. For this one, not a huge amount this week, apart from a bit of disappointment for me. But again, I hope you're all well. Look after yourselves. And I'll see you all in the next one.